Time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Media Network. My name is Matthew Moreno. Joining me tonight, Anthony Witrado. And I know we're not the usual Thursday night crew, so we're pinch hitting tonight for Jeff and Greg. And Anthony, hopefully, will have a little more success than the Dodgers ended up having tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can be that bad, but you never know. We'll see.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody who's joining us. I was reading some of the comments as our intro was playing, and a lot of you guys were making jokes about having to watch highlights after a frustrating game, I guess maybe is the way to put it. But if you're new to YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on this video, all that good stuff. If you're back, please make sure you hit the like button. If you're listening on podcast, Apple, Spotify, or whatever other platform you get them, we appreciate you as well. I know I haven't been on a lot recently. I certainly haven't been hosting, so hopefully I'm hoping to get through this without having to iron out too many kinks. And yes, Michael, we've seen your comments that this is Jeff's fault tonight. And here we have our first super chat, 300. GJW says, not a good games for Jeff to go to Conforto again. Yeah, first and foremost, yes, Jeff is out at Arizona Chase Field tonight and tomorrow. I know he shared that with you guys. So unfortunately, he had to see a loss tonight. Michael Conforto, we are going to get into. He seems to give him credit for consistently being the most polarizing player on the team right now. Is that safe to say, or is there somebody ahead of him?
There's, and it's him right now. It's him right now. Which is, it's him and Max. I guess it's neck and neck there. Just kind of goes game to game. It really is kind of amazing though. Like the rush to panic and DFA guys in the first week of May is pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. Like I doom scroll those messages and tweets and our messages on here. The nicknames that I've seen for Conforto too are also entertaining, not very original, but entertaining at least. So yeah, I would say that he is certainly at the moment the most polarizing offensive player at the very least on this roster. And I understand the fandom part of it, right? Like a guy's been bad in terms of the results, and so there's that rush to judgment, and maybe it's not even a rush because it's been going on for a while here where the results aren't there, and so that part of it is understandable. But I think when we're still in May and you just got into May, process still does matter. You play in 90% of other, and I know the what if game, I get it, but you play in 90% of the other baseball stadiums in this league, and he hits a line drive a foot higher, and you're talking about a home run and a single in this game that could have maybe changed the outcome. And I think when you take a look at the way he's gotten to this point, especially recently, you just hope that luck starts to change, because right now it's a lot of bad luck for him. The at-bats are a lot better. The contact is a ton better than it was a couple of weeks ago even. But the ball's not falling. And I understand that. But like, if you're going to DFA the guy on social media, then give me a solution. What is the solution? Because the solution is not go trade for O'Neal Cruz. No, like give me a realistic solution here, because I'll tell you right now, the answer is not Kike Hernandez. And if you have somebody in OKC that you think, like Ryan Ward's not on the 40-man, and he's been there for a long time for a reason. They don't think that, at least at the moment, that he's major league ready. And so if you're going to do that, let's find a solution. That's probably a more productive use of our energy at this point than just saying, get rid of that guy who keeps hitting the ball hard, but keeps making outs.
Yeah. And we use the word polarizing, and I saw a pretty animated response to that. I recognize within the fan base, it is not polarizing at all. Anthony, as you said, if you go on social media, it's very clear where the majority of the fans stand with Michael Conforto. I guess I was using polarizing from the sense of what we bring you guys on this show. I know
he elicits reaction for sure.
Right, Anthony. So I probably should have said controversial. I use polarizing because I know Anthony, Jeff, I think even Blake have tried to push back on some of the panic. It's April, it's May. There's potentially some signs of turnaround. I feel like I fall somewhere in the middle because my joke, and I know I've said it on here with you guys before, is when there is, the constant, hey, he's hitting the ball hard, like I like to bring up kind of tongue in cheek. Like I remember when that was said about Josh Reddick all throughout his tenure with the Dodgers after they acquired him at the trade deadline. And it doesn't, because Reddick, the success never really turned for him, doesn't mean that it won't for Conforto. But I can understand, I saw somebody mention that I'm not a fan of the expected. Yes, like I get the hard hit stuff. And if you want to look at it tonight, he went 0 for 3. Let me see. I have his, for the people that do like the exit velocities, his fly out to deep center field was 101 miles an hour exit velocity. His line drive was, his fly out was 101. His line drive was 111. Ironically, in Conforto's biggest at bat of the game, in the 8th inning, he hit into a double play that ended it, and that one was 95 miles per hour. So if you want to say that his at bats are better than they were 2 weeks ago, I think that is certainly fair. And there is the data that I know a lot of these young kids covering the sport like. If you want to say he still went 0 for 3 with a walk, and that's all that ultimately, I get that too. And so I can see both sides to everything. I still ultimately will take the give me a soft single because it's a line drive in the box score rather than an 0 for 3 thing.
Sure.
And we're getting some comments tonight about Conforto not looking upset and this and that. I think that can be a slippery slope, and I think players exhibit frustration, emotions differently. Having talked to Michael Conforto, having been around him in the clubhouse, I can tell you that this isn't a case of him not caring. I think with baseball, it can be tricky, and I know Jeff has brought this up, and I recognize there is a balance of, if you start kind of pressing too much, it almost becomes counterproductive.
The whole reacting to not being productive thing is just so tired. Like last year, it was, we went through 2 weeks of this with Mookie Betts at some point last year too. Come on, none of these guys are trying to fail. And when they do, they play every single day. To start breaking stuff and smashing your bat and throwing your helmet and stuff like that, every once in a while, fine. Let it out. But to be oh, I need to see that once a week from you when you're not going well is just stupid. It's counterproductive. And eventually, guys in your own clubhouse are going to start going, we might not need this guy. And it's not a production thing. It's we don't like this guy kind of thing. You want Mookie Betts to do that. Okay, watch the clubhouse turn on him in about a month. So I get that the fans take this stuff how they take it. I'm a fan too, and I do too. I'm sitting on the couch watching the game or something like that, and I got a remote in my hand or whatever, and I'll be like, geez, you know what I mean? Come on. But it can't be to the point where if the players don't react how you want them to react, then it's a problem. We've gone through this for so long with so many guys over we just have to go back to last season. Gavin,
I don't want to cut you off. Not even that far. Go back 2 weeks to Andy Pajes.
When Ohtani came back from the baby, those 4 games, people were like, "What's wrong with this guy? He's overpaid." In these chats, and so if every slump, whether it's 3 weeks, whether it's 4 games, is a problem in this way, then nothing's a problem. You know what I mean? Like at some point, it becomes white noise, and there's people here too now who are like, we shouldn't have traded Lux. And it's like you at this point last season, people were DFAing him too.
Yeah. I want to clarify something. I'm seeing some angry comments so far tonight. And again, we appreciate everybody in here. We are, Anthony and myself and our show, our website, our channel, we're open to different opinions. I think what we're trying to do is sort of talk through and, I mean, for lack of a better term, explain why the Dodgers are not about to DFA Michael Conforto. The reality is we're just a month over into the regular season. Conforto struggles, the injuries, all the at least laundry list of things that have gone wrong. Look at the standings and where are the Dodgers? And they know that. And this team is playing for October. And if I can understand and sympathize with the frustration and wanting to see something different, as Anthony said at the beginning of this, what's the solution then? If it's not Michael Conforto, then who? And I've seen Chris Taylor's name a couple times. He falls into the same bucket. If Chris Taylor starts getting more at bats and doesn't hit, it's going to be the same exact conversation. Why is it's already happened? Why is Chris Taylor even if he gets an occasional start? Why is Chris Taylor starting? What is he doing in the lineup? Why is he still on the team? This and that, yada yada. So there's not a magic solution. And the one comment I do want to make sure we address is from Douglas Anderson. He's calling us brain dead, yet incorrectly states that Michael Conforto has options, so send him down to the minors. Douglas, I hate to break it to you. Anthony and I, we did double check with our brain dead selves, and Conforto does not have minor league options and cannot be sent down to the minors. So take that solution off the table.
I don't think he's had a minor league option for years.
Yeah. So that sums that up pretty quickly. But yeah, and
to my point too, like about the reactions, like that's the part that is like, okay, guys, like we have to move past some, like, I'm sorry to break this to a lot of the people, but they're not going to DFA Conforto right now. Yeah. They're just not going to, and there's a really good chance they don't for the entire season. Chris Taylor is probably not the answer. And I've seen this too, to speak to the overreactions. Yamamoto did not lose his Cy Young candidacy based off this start. His ERA is still under 2. Like, he's fine. But that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, everything can't be this cataclysmic event when things don't go well. Because at that point, then, like, what are we doing here? So when we, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. When I speak about something how I am right now with this Conforto situation, and it's not a good situation, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm saying that DFAing him is not the answer, and it's also not going to happen from an organizational standpoint. But also, like, we're trying to bring some perspective here. Yeah. And so there's a certain time where like why is a guy on the roster, right? We've started to turn that corner on Miguel Rojas. Like, it's not like everyone's great and we should keep everybody, but just trying to be realistic and have some perspective about the actual situations that are going on, and trying to bring a fan perspective to it, but also with a degree of, like, we have an understanding of what the organization is thinking here and what they might be seeing, and historically how they've treated things like this. And this is what it is. And they're watching Conforto and they're going, we're watching this right now and we're seeing a ton of bad luck. This is what the Dodgers are saying. There's no reason, like, give them a day off, give them a couple of days off during a series. Absolutely. We just talked about that a few shows ago. And sure.
That's something Dave Roberts mentioned that possibility a few days ago, that yes, he was thinking about it. And then again, as people who have been with us for a while, I'm not the person who is, beating the expected stats drum. Like, that's not my thing. I can see some value in it, but that's not the hill that I choose to die on. The reality is Michael Conforto has started to show better signs than his at-bats from a week ago, from 2 weeks ago. And as you said, that is what the Dodgers really look at in spring training and the regular season, this and that. And so Dave Roberts went from, yes, I'm considering sitting him, to, well, now wait a minute, like there are some encouraging signs. And also, the reality is the Dodgers don't have a clear secondary option or solution, at least not right now. And I think the biggest thing is everybody's getting upset at Michael Conforto. And I get the frustration. He's not going to be the reason why the Dodgers win or don't win a World Series this year.
Agree.
And had they not re-signed Teoscar Hernandez and Michael Conforto was their big like off-season outfield addition, I would 100% be with everybody who's upset and saying, hey, like Dodgers, like what were you guys doing? Like this is the guy you put your outfield chips into and now he's struggling. Like this was just poor planning. That's not the reality. And again, the other fact of the matter is it's May 8th right now. And the Dodgers are still in first place.
Yeah, totally. And here's the thing with like just starting to cut guys. Let's cut Conforto. Let's cut Muncy. Let's cut Rojas. Let's cut Chris Taylor. For some reason, Kike gets a pass. Maybe not for some reason. He does the October thing, right? But like he's terrible during the regular season. Not just right now. It was terrible last year too. But let's cut all these guys with no answers in terms of how we replace them. Okay, let's call people up. And like unrealistic trades, like we're not going to entertain those. But like, okay, let's bring guys up. Okay, fine. Here is the really slippery slope that you run into with that solution or that route is you bring these guys up who you clearly didn't think were major league ready when the season started or like in the off season or whatever, even if they're playing well right now. You bring them up to replace a guy that you've cut and that guy's he's gone now. It's not like you can send Rojas down or send Conforto down and then bring them back if the other guy struggles. Okay, so they're gone. You bring up these other guys who are in OKC or wherever, and then they don't do the job well. Now you are really stuck.
And you want to layer in something else. Show me the track record that the Dodgers have of developing strong position players.
Yeah.
Recent.
Right, sure.
And I get Dalton Rushing, like Dalton Rushing's name. It's been in here tonight, and it's been in here, I know, in some of the shows you and Jeff have been doing. The reality, the Dodgers haven't shown an inclination to have him play left field this season. I know he did a little bit recently, and I saw you bringing up. You asked Jeff, is there something there? I agree. I think there might be a little something there of, hey, if Michael Conforto continues down this path for an entire, first half of the season, and Dalton Rushing can handle left field, is tearing the cover off the ball, then maybe, and he continues to play left field, then maybe there's something there. But we're not at that point yet. And all of that being said, I think we've discussed Michael Conforto enough tonight. And we do have some. Was there anything else you want to add, Anthony, to kind of?
Yeah, I saw a couple of people asking, like, okay, if it's not time yet to have this conversation about him, then when is? I would say 100 more plate appearances, and until it's a realistic. And when I say realistic, I mean like that the Dodgers might be having this conversation. Maybe 100 more plate appearances. Probably he's a little over 100 or something like that right now. I would say 100 more, and then if regardless of how the underlying metrics look for him, if he's not producing and he's hitting under 200 or whatever, and his OBP is 210, then they will start to have that conversation. But it's not happening right now. And for them, in their minds, aside from like the luck not being on his side in the last 10 games or whatever it's been, they're not having that conversation because they don't see a reason to at this point. They are liking more and more what they're seeing from him. And if he continues to do this over the next 100 at-bats, this conversation sounds a whole lot different, because eventually those balls do start to fall, and those balls in the air do start to go over the fence. And then he becomes a guy like, man, what would we do without this guy in the lineup right now, because someone else might be hurt.
Yeah. In terms of Dalton Rushing, I know Blake has been sharing this somewhat frequently. He says Rushing grades out in left field as, quote, not an option, end quote, essentially. So that's what the nerd data is saying on Dalton Rushing in left field. And I get it might be a little shaky, Blake, but let's not forget the Dodgers had Howie Kendrick starting in left field for the postseason. So
they put Gavin Lux in center.
If rushing is tearing the cover off the ball, I think he'll figure out a way to play left field adequately enough. All right, I want to discuss Yamamoto tonight, and we have other topics we need to get to, but we do have a few super chats. I apologize for the delay in getting to these. Aaron Garcia says, I genuinely feel terrible for Conforto. He's doing everything right, working the count, scoring up the ball, hitting it hard, and can't buy any luck. Yeah, I mean, especially as of late, that sums it up extremely well. And Aaron, I know we missed this earlier, but I feel like we did cover a lot of those same points. Next super chat from Shelly Lawrence says, I know most people disagree, but I know that he will work through this. He's a professional. Again, that's about Michael Conforto. And yeah, as Anthony said, if it's more of this for another month, then it is a different discussion. And if the pendulum swings back the other way, the way it has for Andy Pages, then it's another discussion in that sense as well, because then there's probably somebody else that the fans are going to be angry at, not Michael Conforto.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll all find someone else.
Yeah. It'll go back to Max Muncy then. Those Conforto and Muncy were two on our list. I called them polarizing, but we can say controversial or lightning rod type players. Fritz says number 18 is amazing. I predict the rotation steps up this time through, with number 18 showing he isn't bulletproof. Make lemonade out of these lemons. Let's get into actually we have one more super chat, so let's do that. Luis S says the truth is these millionaires chose to rest today. I mean
they hit a bunch of balls hard tonight.
Yeah.
And Yamamoto got done in by kind of a fluke bad inning there. He had a guy 0-2 and then he hit him. The opposite field sort of bleeder into right field, where with the shift on that, if you're playing it straight up is an out. And then the pitch that on that led to the grand slam was a ball he just left out over the plate. He missed location and he got hit out. And then before that, and for the most part after that, he was fine. Only gave up another run, but he was fine. And so there's, you have that sort of weird start. And then, through like the first 3 or 4 innings, they had hit 8 balls over 95 miles an hour or something like that. And not to keep jumping on that stat, but it was like, you guys were watching the game. The ball Outman hit, there were a few balls that were like, oh my, how does that not get out? Or how does that not fall? Like stuff like that. It wasn't because they just were like, you know what, we're not going to try today. We're tired.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that. Thank you everybody for the super chats. I know there was a delay in us getting to them. If you are with us on YouTube and you want us to address a specific question or topic, super chat is the way to go. It helps support our channel, keep us going and producing different types of content, which, by the way, we did get to 85,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So thank you everybody who has been with us. I know I'm seeing a lot of regulars in here tonight. If you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to do so. Our next target goal that we're trying to hit is 100,000. Once we get there, I think we'll be able to do a pretty cool giveaway or two. So we're looking forward to that. Before we get to Yamamoto, here's another super chat from JY Kim. It says, do Diamondbacks pitchers do better in away games? The hot and dry Arizona weather might have affected Yamamoto. I haven't looked at splits for Diamondbacks pitchers specifically. I know that pitching in Arizona, Clayton Kershaw specific, like his curveball and slider typically don't break very well, and he's been open about that. So he has impacted. Do you think that was a factor for Yamamoto tonight?
Yeah, I don't know what the Diamondbacks splits look like over historically. But I do know it has an impact, and starting pitchers can. It's like that stadium, roof closed or open, is known as a hitter's ballpark. And off-speed stuff tends to move less. And I think Yamamoto's splitter today was a little I think you could sort of see it in that too. So yeah, there is something to that. I know we're going to jump into this, but that could have been as much a factor tonight as anything.
Yeah.
And he was still mostly good.
Let's get into Yamamoto really quick. John saying that he just joined. John, thank you. Welcome. I hope by joining you mean that you have also subscribed and not just tuning in tonight, but either way, welcome. And we hope to see you back here as we continue to do our live shows and we put up different content throughout the week. So discussing Yamamoto, one thing we haven't touched on yet is tonight's start was the first time that he started on 5 days of rest this season. That's a normal thing. I mean, it's actually extended rest on a normal MLB schedule, but at least in the Dodgers terms, this is more normal because they try to do 5 days. They had been doing 6 days for Yamamoto and Sasaki so far this season outside of the Tokyo series. So once they got back stateside, Yamamoto and Sasaki were on a schedule of starting Friday, Saturday, back-to-back, every week. If you look at their game logs, it changed this week because the Dodgers are in the midst of playing 10 games in a row without an off day. They're obviously short on healthy starting pitchers. I don't know if this was to blame or not. You mentioned he wasn't overly bad tonight. There were some command issues. He walked, he finished with 3 walks, I think. I know he hit a batter as well. I don't want to call it it was one fewer day of rest than he's accustomed to this year. Was that a factor going into tonight, or was it just, no pitcher's going to be perfect? And I do think there is an element to which we haven't discussed yet. The Diamondbacks get up to play the Dodgers. I think it's not breaking news to say something like that. I think they look forward to these matchups. So what do you make of Yamamoto's start?
Yeah, I thought that look, I'm going to need to see more evidence to be it's the rest thing. I guess you could say maybe he was kind of due to give up a few runs here or there. And like I said, that inning where he gave up the grand slam was a little fluky. The first ball hit was okay, that was, okay, fine. The second batter sort of poked one through the opposite way with the shift on, and it ended up going through right where a second baseman would normally be playing. And it was not hit that hard. I didn't think it was like a 3-hopper through the infield. And then he gets the next guy 0-2, and then he hits him with that pitch that sort of tails in and gets him in the elbow.
Yeah.
All right. So now the bases are loaded, nobody out. His doing, but also little bit of crappy luck there. And then the home run was just a bad pitch. And they took advantage of it. And then that was sort of the start. And that's what the complexion of the start looks like. But before that, he was, I thought, really good at clearly pitching without his best stuff. And one of the things I'll take away from this game, and it sucks that they lost it, but, my dad said, as soon as that grand slam happened, my dad texted me, and he was like, the ERA is going to go up. That's not good for the Cy Young race. And I was like, it's still, at that time, it was 166. And I think he ended tonight at a 1.8. It's still very much in the conversation, everybody. But I think the thing that I'll take away from this start from him is that he recognized early on he didn't have his full repertoire going, kind of dancing the way he would want and having things on a string the way he's been. But he was still able to pitch and get outs with it. And so for me, for a guy in his second year, that's part of learning how to pitch at this level. And it's what makes guys great, because there's a lot of good pitchers, and they're good because when their stuff's not totally there, they might have a really bad start. Great pitchers, when their stuff's not totally there, figure out a way still to get outs. And until that one blow up inning for him, he was doing that. And so for me, that's kind of the takeaway for this. The grand slam, it happens. If that guy hits a double, the Dodgers might have won this game, and maybe Yamamoto only gives up 2 runs this time. So, all the what if stuff, but the thing that I think you can take away from it is sort of that poise in pitching without his A game.
Yeah, and I think for more added context on Yamamoto's start tonight, because I'm seeing people question why the Dodgers moved up his start day by 1 day. Last season, he made 11 of 18 starts on 5 days of rest. The other 7 were on 6 days. So the 5 days, which is the schedule that he was on for tonight, is something that he, I don't want to say necessarily got accustomed to, just because I don't want to speak for him, but he certainly got enough experience with it last year. And Andrew Friedman said last season that the Dodgers were actually going to move Yamamoto to the kind of MLB traditional schedule of starting every 5th day. So then it's 4 days of rest, but then he had his shoulder injury. And once that happened, they said, okay, we're not going to push him in that regard. Again, no pitcher is perfect. You highlighted various reasons and various aspects of what were positives from Yamamoto's start. And as you mentioned, it was kind of a little bit of self-inflicted bad luck, but some bad luck as well that led to the grand slam that sort of I want to say broke things open because the Dodgers ended up coming back, and it was only 4-0. Like the grand slam's deflating, right? There's no outs still, but it's still a 4-0 game, which with the lineup that the Dodgers have, like scoring 4 runs is not unheard of, and they got to 3 tonight. They made it close in the end. So yeah, I mean, in terms of schedule and asking about needing to call somebody up instead, Dodgers have cycled through a lot of the pitch. I mean, Landon Knack made a spot start yesterday. He's still up with the team, so he obviously couldn't pitch today. I mean, if they call up Bobby Miller, would fans be happy about that instead of Yamamoto starting, on 5 days of rest? Probably not. So it's just the position that the Dodgers are in. And as much as I think we focused on these 10 games in a row, they have one off day and then they play 9 more in a row. So it's just the month of May is just brutal for them. And so
they had a very cushy month of April. And that's why I think that's why this month looks the way it does, because they had every Thursday off, I think, in April. And a lot of teams have these built-in days off early because of the weather in other cities and stuff like that. And I think so it made the Dodgers, scheduling their pitching very easy. And outside of a few like 2-inning starts here or there or whatever, like it was a pretty simplistic way to go about things. Now they're going to have to get a little more creative if they plan to keep guys on extended rest.
Yeah. And, we can get to some of that. There might be reinforcement on the way. We have a bunch of different updates to touch on. Let's start with Michael Kopech. He began his rehab assignment tonight with Oklahoma City. He started the game as an opener, which isn't, I know he's a reliever, but it's not uncommon when these guys are down there it's easier to control when they get into the game. Yeah. And especially when they're first beginning their rehab assignment, which Kopech was. Didn't go well for him. He walked all 5 batters that he faced. Anthony, I mean, what is there anything to really take from this? I mean, at the risk of us further upsetting our viewers tonight, because we were preaching patience with Conforto. If we do the same thing with Kopech, we might have to end the stream early and maybe get us. We're pinch hitting. We're gonna have to send Jeff a text and say, hey, you take over. They're mad at us.
All right. You want to see about as panicked as I'll get this early in the season? That's concerning. That Kopech stuff is concerning. And I've talked with Jeff about how, like, when guys go on these rehab assignments, particularly pitchers, like, I don't look at the stat line. It doesn't really matter for the most part. I just want to see that they're healthy. This was not good because I forget what the total number of pitches was that he threw.
Try pulling it up as you're talking.
Yeah, but I want to say I saw something that was like the number of strikes was like in the single digits. And it was a fairly decent amount of pitches, as you would imagine when you walk 5 guys.
I have it for you. It's 23 pitches, 3 strikes.
That's bad, man.
Yeah.
That is brutal. So yeah, there's some concern there. Now he could erase that with his next outing, and maybe he looks good and he's got more command of the ball. But yeah, you only throw 3 strikes and 23 pitches. We need to have a discussion after that outing and be like, hey man, what was wrong there? Yeah. Because that's not just like I'm working on things at that point. Like you still have to be able to put the ball in and around the zone. So yeah, I hope the next outing is in a few days or next week or something like that, and he looks fine and we can forget about this, but not a good start.
Yeah. He's going to certainly get plenty of opportunities to right the ship. I know Dave Roberts told reporters today, I think it would be like 5 or 6 appearances, something similar to what Evan Phillips did. And I think that was about Phillips ended up at 6. He was going to do a 7th, which was kind of the final one with OKC. But because of Blake Trinan's injury, they brought Phillips back a day or 2 earlier than originally planned. So yeah, I mean, Kopech, they'll give him, pitchers can be on rehab, I think a full month, like 30 days or something like that. So he'll get as much time as he needs. Considering he is a reliever, it wouldn't necessarily need to be the full 30, but if that's what it takes, we know the Dodgers are certainly patient, and that's what they'll do there. I
suspect he'll be all right. I mean, but it's not a good look out of the gate when you like just have no command. Like if he comes out tomorrow and he's healthy, though, it's mainly a success.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the biggest concern would be, hey, like, was your shoulder is something wrong with your shoulder? Were you feeling something, not healthy type and pushing through it, and that's what caused this? Because Dodgers certainly can't. I don't know if they can absorb another injury to one of their high leverage relievers right now. Next one, a little bit more encouraging. Clayton Kershaw. He's going to make another rehab start on Sunday for OKC. Probably going to be his last one. All signs are pointing to him then coming back after that. He did just throw 6 no-hit innings against an ACL team. Arizona Complex League. Excuse me. I don't want to confuse people with maybe an ACL injury. I think it was the Reds. I'm not sure what organization they were playing. Didn't allow a hit, 6 innings. So he's fully stretched out at this point. I think Sunday's game is going to be, kind of a tune-up. He's eligible to come back on May 17th. I think there have been whispers, what I have heard, that he's looking at probably the 18th of when he would be activated and pitch, and that's a week from this upcoming Sunday. So that would be against the Angels. So Kershaw's trending up. Have you tracked his rehabs at all?
Yeah, I've been paying attention. It's been pretty promising, I think. I haven't looked much at just sort of any underlying numbers, but just seeing the results and seeing some of the highlights, promising, and they can certainly use him right now. I think that I was curious how long they would hold him back earlier in the season, but when he came out with that interview and he basically said that it was just the toe that was holding him back, aside from like the 60-day DL and his date that he was eligible and all that, like, that was promising. And then the results since then have basically shown that he was right. Like, he's feeling good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because aside from them needing him, I think that when he's been healthy the last few years, he's been a really good starting pitcher. It's not like they're bringing back an old guy for nostalgia purposes. Like, he's been good. He's just not made a lot of starts because his body is starting to break down on him.
Yeah, that was the point that I was going to hit on. I know it's not a popular one, and I put up some of the comments that we're getting on Kershaw. The Dodgers don't need Clayton Kershaw to come back and be the MVP Clayton Kershaw that he was a decade ago. They need Clayton Kershaw to come back and give them, if it's 5 innings in his first start and then 6 innings after that type thing, just making a regular turn in the rotation. They need. I mean, we just got done discussing, changing Yamamoto's schedule because of their stretch of games in a row and all that stuff. And as you mentioned, if you go back and look when Clayton Kershaw has been healthy and able to pitch, he is still plenty effective. Is he the same dominant Cy Young Award winner? No. I think expectations need to be adjusted to that point. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure. And he made the 7 starts last season, and I mean, we come to find out that he was pitching hurt in some way through most of those, and so it didn't look great. But before that, when he was healthy, I think his last 45 starts or whatever it was over 2 seasons, sub-3 ERA still. So if he's not hurt, I don't see any reason why he can't be a low 3s kind of guy, and especially in this division, when you need that kind of production, like, there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, definitely. Another couple, we'll keep the positive vibes going. Evan Phillips, he did go on the injured list yesterday. It was odd. They had Matt Sauer in Miami with the team. Dave Roberts said, we're checking on some guys. There might be an injury here and there. And then the game started, and I thought, okay, maybe Sauer will be active for the Diamondback series. And no, bottom of the first inning, Dodgers send it out. Evan Phillips went on the injured list with right forearm inflammation. Sauer was activated. Obviously, for a pitcher, you hear any forearm issue, you start to think, serious trouble, because it can often be a precursor to Tommy John. Listening to Dave Roberts, and more importantly, hearing from Evan Phillips himself, like, there doesn't seem to be much concern with this, and it was more a matter of not wanting to push him through the kind of forearm discomfort that he's feeling right now, because it is only May. So Evan said he wasn't sure about he assumed maybe he'd go for an MRI at some point once the team was back, or he'd get looked at, once they got to Arizona, because he can head over to Camelback or whatever the case needs to be. But trending upward, at least. Hopefully that ends up being kind of just the 15 days and then he's back. In that similar light, Teoscar Hernandez, we went from one day where Dave Roberts is expressing some significant concern and, saying it's going to be weeks that he's out, no real timeline. Next morning, actually, Teoscar is feeling better. Hopefully he's back, sooner rather than later. Anthony, we kind of joked as we were preparing for the show. We joked about this. I think you and I are in the same boat with the Teoscar one, even though we're being told that there's reason for optimism.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. Just mostly because of the nature of the injury too, and not just the fact that we've had the wool pulled over our eyes or attempted to be pulled over our eyes several times by this organization when it comes to injuries. But no, look, one, they're not going to rush him back. Two, this adductor / groin thing tends to not be a quick fix. I'll stick with my guesstimation that I had on Sunday or on Tuesday. I think we won't see him till June, basically. And I think that's kind of a best case scenario.
I think that's about right. I would say I'd put it at like 3 weeks, so like final week of May. So then at that point, I mean, it is more or less June. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's too far off for multiple reasons. One, as you mentioned, that can be a tricky injury. Two, like there isn't necessarily a need to rush him back, because if you do rush him back and he aggravates it and hurts it again, then there's a decent chance that you're looking at an even longer stretch of time that he's then going to be out. So we'll see. Yeah. The other one is Emmet Sheehan. He's been kind of secretly facing batters. I say that tongue in cheek, secretly facing batters during his rehab process. Dave Roberts revealed that today when he mentioned that Sheehan actually pitched to Tommy Edman, who I know you and Jeff discussed earlier this week, that his return has been delayed. It was anticipated that he would be back on Saturday to finish the Diamondback series. It's now looking like next week once the Dodgers come out of the off day and are back home. But Edman at least is taking some at bats. The bigger news is I think he faced Emmet Sheehan, and Sheehan has been pitching to hitters, and Dave Roberts said he's close to beginning a rehab assignment. We just got done discussing what Clayton Kershaw can be for the rotation and returning. Emmet Sheehan, a little bit of a different bucket, obviously doesn't have the certainly the career that Clayton Kershaw has amassed, and really doesn't. It's hard to forget that he only has the one, like 13 or 14 games under his belt period with the Dodgers, because he came up 2 years ago and we heard the name because he was supposed to factor into their pitching last year, but then obviously never got a chance to start before he unfortunately had Tommy John surgery. But given some of the struggles with Bobby Miller, inconsistency with Justin Robleski, Landon Knack, I think, has pitched well outside of the one game against the Nationals. But do you see, Sheehan potentially being a valuable asset to the team at some point this year?
I would be surprised if they kind of slow played it the way they did with Gonsolin last year. I don't see them rushing Sheehan to be up with the Dodgers this season. I totally realistic. I think that he comes back and pitches in the minors. I mean, unless they're really desperate for starting pitching. Yeah. Which, hey, not out of the realm of possibility.
It's tracking that way, unfortunately.
Not out of the realm of possibility there. Then I don't think we see him. I don't think that they have a need to sort of rush him up that way, especially if they haven't done it with more veteran guys in the past.
Yeah. Laura wants to know, how is Glasnow's quote entire body doing? And yes, that's actually, I did mean to mention Glasnow and Blake Snell. They're both scheduled to start throwing again on Friday. So for Snell, it's going to be kind of his second time trying to start up since he went on the IL last month. The first time he was playing catch, he threw a bullpen session, was going to throw a second one, and he still wasn't feeling well. So they shut it down, and he ended up getting some sort of injection in the shoulder. So he's, going to get going again. Glasnow, this will be a first for him. I'd have to go back and count that. I think I did actually, from when he went on the injured list to Friday, I think it ended up being 11 days. Dave Roberts had said they were shutting him down for 10 days to 14 days. So we're kind of right in that window. So this is part of the plan. I mean, it's kind of a wait and see with Glasnow. I know I came on here after because I was at the game when he got hurt with his what they end up, his shoulder or elbow. I forgot what they ended up calling. I think his shoulder. So I expressed some of my feelings on what I think. I want to say he's not hurt, but I think there is somewhat of a mental factor of wanting to feel 100% healthy, and I just don't know how realistic that sort of is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. For me, it's just like a way to cope with not getting my hopes up or to keep them at bay is to like just sort of ignore the Snell and Glasnow noise until like it gets real enough for me. um, just because like I just kind of expect both those guys to be out for a while.
Yeah.
And
that's
like I have that sort of pessimistic expectation or outlook and then hope that I'm surprised.
yeah. Eden's asking if we're going to do questions. Yes, I was about to ask everybody to start throwing questions into the chat. As a reminder, if you could start it with the word question in all caps, it helps Anthony and I kind of flag them, and we're going to answer as many of them as we can. A couple things before we get to those. I want to give Laura a shout out. She sent us a couple of YouTube hoodies. I could have worn it tonight. It's kind of cool weather-wise. So Laura, thank you for that. I know you've been in here with us since, I want to say if not the very beginning, pretty close to it. So yeah, thank you. And we have a super chat. As reminders, we're answering questions. If we're going to get to as many as we can. If you want to make sure that yours is answered and you're on YouTube, super chat is the way to go. If you're not on YouTube, you can join us there. As I said, we hit 85,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 100,000 next. So we greatly appreciate everybody's support in pursuing that. 300 GJW says Teo and Tommy being out also shines a light on Max and Conforto struggles even more. Yeah, that's fair. And that was kind of to my point earlier of Conforto's not going to be the reason the Dodgers win or lose a World Series. If Ohtani, Freeman, Teoscar, Will Smith are hitting, then anything they get from Conforto is sort of just icing on the cake.
I think too, part of that is, and we talked about this last year with certain guys. When you struggle out of the gate, it's so much, it shines so much brighter because guys will have bad months.
Yeah.
Like Mookie had a bad month last year. That was when I was talking about earlier about like people were saying that he was too old and how can we get rid of him? Which sounds incredible, but it was happening. And so when you start out of the gate that way, it becomes brighter. It becomes more of a topic of conversation. And then when the lineup depth gets a little more shallow, those guys again also, if you're not producing, stand out a little more. So it's understandable why there's such a topic of conversation for sure. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, because they're the guys getting the most at bats with the least amount of production right now.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some of these questions. And again, we will focus on baseball ones, but if we get people asking food, then they get mixed in. So don't get mad at us. Anthony and I are just answering questions that we see in the chat. All right, let's see. Our first one, John's. This one's been asked a couple times. I don't know if it's been John or other people chiming in as well. They want to know if the Giants will take first place this weekend. Maybe, I guess, but my question, the Padres are still there too. Like, it's not just the Giants, so I don't know why the Giants are being handpicked more so than the Padres.
I guess probably because they're a game back. What are the Padres right now?
I feel like they were both. I thought they were.
They're both the same. They're both a game back. I don't see why either one of them should be in first place at the end of this weekend.
There you go.
Are the Dodgers getting swept all of a sudden?
Maybe that's the underlying theme to that.
Yeah, I mean, if the funny thing is too is like if you didn't know anything about baseball and you just came in here and like saw some of the reaction, like you think that this is a below 500 team. I think they're tied for the best record in baseball right now. The Dodgers are. I don't see why. And look, they've not been in first place all the entire season, right? Like they've fallen as far back as third, I think. From a record standpoint, I'm not worried about them. Like I think they're going to win this division with a decent enough cushion. I think for them, it's a matter of just being healthy, and they're gonna win this division. I don't have any doubt about that. But, if I'm wrong, then it is what it is. But if they happen to split this series and the Giants sweep, I think they play Minnesota. you know, cool. But I don't think the Giants win the division when it's all said and done.
Yeah, let me try and pull it up. But Curse is adding, I guess, some context, saying that the Padres are playing the Rockies, and so that they're going to be in first place. Let me try and pull up the Giants' schedule really quick. Well, no, it's gonna. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. I mean, look, if they end up in first place, then so be it. It's going to be May. Like I know people will be upset. Anthony, you'll be on a trip, so you won't have to deal with it. Actually, you're gonna look.
Yeah.
You're lucking out in that regard. So,
Yeah, I'll be out all next week. Every year I go and run the media center for the PGA Championship. I'm a former PGA employee on the PR and communication side, so it's cool. It's a cool experience. I get to go back every year and help them run that part of it. So I'll be watching a lot of golf, talking to a lot of golfers. So I will be not totally tuned in to all the happenings of baseball, but I'll be tuned into the Dodgers for sure because it's in Charlotte. So the nice thing is, like, I don't have a bedtime. So when Dodger games start at 7 or whatever time they start at next week, I'll be fine. I'll be watching, and all my work for that day will be done.
yeah, and you could by the time you come back onto our shows, the Dodgers could be back in first place, and you would have missed all the chaos. So
Yeah, I know.
it's a win-win for you, no matter what.
Conforto might have got a hit.
Yeah, maybe. All right,
Maybe.
let's keep going. Eden says she wants to know what's the plan for the first couple games against the A's, Knack, and a spot starter. I believe Landon. It looks like they are going to keep Landon Knack up, so he should make another start. But honestly, looking beyond the next 3 or 4 days with the Dodgers and pitching specifically, is a difficult proposition to try to forecast. But I think Knack and a spot starter, you could be onto something there. Michael wants to know, could the Dodgers put Conforto on the injured list with an injury, send him down to work on his hitting? If there is an injury there, yes, they can do that. MLB has cracked down on kind of phantom IL stints, and I'm not going to say the Dodgers have done that in the past. I'm not going to say they've never done it in the past. But if Conforto's going on the injured list, something would have to be wrong, and it would need to be like reviewed and kind of made sure that it's above board. So theoretically, could they? Yes, but again, if he's healthy, then no, that's a non-starter, unfortunately.
Yeah, but if he were to get injured, obviously, then that's the process. I think it's more likely that it is what we talked about before, where it's hard right now because I think Dave sees the way he's hitting the ball and the way the ball's coming off the bat, and like you don't want to sit a guy then until he starts to get some results, right? Like it's kind of he's in a not a great situation in terms of like trying to get him a day off. However, I think some days off for him would not hurt.
Yeah. I will add that the Dodgers, they're not playing him injured because that's not something they do unless you are David Peralta, and outfielder who they let continue to play for some reason. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have? Jose Hernandez wants to know, once Edman and Teoscar Hernandez are healthy, what more does Kim have to do to make Doc think of keeping him up / sending him down? This is something that I actually have been wondering about recently, because there isn't and I know that it's a big if because it's baseball and things just they tend to work themselves out one way or another. If the Dodgers get back to a point where Tommy Edman is back, Teoscar Hernandez is back, there is not room on the roster for Ha-Seong Kim. And I know fans are going to go crazy. They'll say, DFA Conforto, DFA Rojas, sure, maybe DFA Kike. And the other caveat that I will add to this is it's not, Jose, it's not going to be Dave Roberts' decision on something like this. This will be front office driven and stuff like that. But Anthony, do you see a path where if Kim continues to play well, some of the flashes we've seen, are they going to find a way to keep him on the roster, or will they just send him down still for more seasoning at AAA and then recall him when there's a bigger role?
Yeah, I don't think he stays. He would have to be like an automatic on base 3 times a night kind of guy, like just mark it in the book. And I don't see him really doing that. they said when they brought him up, like, this isn't a permanent thing. I mean, they had said, like, we're going to try to find him some games he can start in, right? Like, the plan was for him to not be up long. I think he's going to have to absolutely force his way into that conversation for it to even be considered. And I just don't think he'll do that offensively at this point.
Yeah. And I think not that they'll hide behind it, but I think they will also, we've seen a couple misplays at shortstop, the misread out in center field. I think they will also use that as he needs more experience, more starts, and, kind of a not quite as of intense environment as the major leagues to keep developing and working on that stuff.
And they might not be wrong about that. In all honesty,
Yep.
they're probably correct. I'm a big Kim fan. I wanted him up to start the season. I understood why they put him where they put him. But I've also been an advocate in his camp because he brings tools that the Dodgers lack on the roster overall. But yeah, I don't think he's long for this once those guys are getting healthy. And it's probably the right call for right now. Is it the last time we've seen him up this season? I'll say this, based on what we've seen so far, I don't think so. I think he'll be back up at some point when there's a need, or at the very least in September.
Here's John's just saying, I'm not sure if he's saying Kim will be sent down or kept first before Outman, but I am of the mind that and we do have a question here. Let's kind of tie everything all together. We have some moving parts here. Scooter Booter wants to know how long until we see Edman back. Tuesday would be the earliest. Monday is an off day for the Dodgers. It was supposed to be Saturday when he was eligible. Dave Roberts said it's being delayed into next week. So that's Tommy Edman. Back to John's point, once Tommy Edman is back, let's assume that it is Tuesday. Do you think that Kim is on the roster? And John is saying, keep him before Outman. So who goes down on Tuesday, assuming Tommy Edman is back, Kim or Outman?
Outman.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So look, and we just got done discussing Teoscar Hernandez, that probably being at least still 2 or 3 weeks to see. So Kim will get he should get some decent runway here to kind of show what he's capable of. And if he does manage to tear the cover off the ball and make, 5 starts a week, then it becomes a different conversation than I think we're having right now.
And things happen sometimes. And even when Teo's ready to come back, it may not mean that Kim is out, because other injuries could happen or, whatever. There's other situations too, where I think that he could still find a way to play himself into this roster. But given that everyone comes back healthy and all the guys who are currently healthy stay that way, I think Kim stays up before Outman does, but then eventually they will move him back down.
Yeah, I agree. Roger wants to know, do you think Pages will end the year as a corner outfielder or stay in center field?
This, I think, goes a little bit back to the Kim conversation. If he can find a way to produce enough that he can stay with the Dodgers, I think he would eventually be the second baseman. They would probably move Edman to center, and then it would allow them to move Pages probably to right. And then you have the situation now, with Conforto and Teo. Obviously, from a production standpoint, there's no comparison there. It's just a matter of, one, can they keep everybody healthy? And two, how do they want to handle Conforto in that sort of situation?
Yeah. And I think as our admin is chiming in, Conforto is involved in this as well. I agree. I think there's a potential of a trade. Like if Michael Conforto continues at the rate that he's on, do the Dodgers look to maybe trade for a legitimate center fielder and or a left fielder? I know Luis Roberts' name has been out there for multiple years now, so that's the popular one. But yeah, it could get interesting. The one thing I don't want to say push back, but it'll be interesting to see if you mentioned Pages in right field, that would move Teoscar to left. I think that makes sense, but Teo's been clear that he prefers playing right field, even though defensively, I don't think it makes the most sense to play him there. So that'll be something to sort of watch as well. Here, Alleluia wants to know, with the greatest roster, is this year going to be the least representatives in the All-Star game? I I mean, yeah, it could right now.
Yeah.
Ohtani and it's hard because there's the fan vote, right? So the fan vote could carry certainly Ohtani and Freeman in. I think Mookie could get in with the fans as well. After that, Yamamoto will get in with pitch, not fan, like just pitch as a pitcher, as a starter. After that, I'm
So
not
it'll be.
sure.
I think the locks right now are Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Freeman,
Yeah.
and then you could end up with possibly to Oscar if he's back with enough games, and possibly Mookie. So I mean, they could end up with a handful of guys still.
Yeah. And I think if Tanner Scott and or Kirby Yates continue on their path, yeah, I guess we forgot Will Smith as well.
I mean, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wilson. So
Yeah.
I take back my, maybe you're right with that question. I think they're going to have plenty of representation.
Yeah. And we didn't even get into like one of, if not, like the relievers get hard because that's the easy way for, like, I'll pick on Pittsburgh just because they tend to be an easy punching
Right.
bag. Like it's an easy, although Paul Skeens is there, so maybe they're a bad choice. But a smaller market team that is struggling, maybe they have a reliever that's doing really well, and so they get in, and so it squeezes out. If a team like the Dodgers has multiple relief pitchers, so one of Scott and Yates, I imagine, will make it though if they continue on their current path. So yeah, I mean, we just got up to what, 5 or 6, 7 guys in kind of a blink of an eye, so they should certainly have plenty of representation. All right, let's answer a few more here. Dodgers Sub wants to know, how worried are we about Evan Phillips' forearm injury? Injuries are piling up again. Dodgers have 13 pitchers and 2 position players on the IL, and it's only the start of May. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to lean into what Evan Phillips expressed. I know we discussed this a little earlier. I'm kind of concerned, but if Evan Phillips is downplaying it, saying he could have pitched, then I think there's some reason to be optimistic there.
I'm concerned.
Okay, there you go. Maybe I'm trying not to be concerned, trying to talk myself into it. All right, we have a few more here. Cole, sticking with the injuries. At what point is management blamed for the rash of pitching injuries going on 4 years now? Training staff, medical staff, the emphasis on velocity seems to be an issue. I know this is something we've discussed at various points over the years throughout the offseason. I get it. I do think the Dodgers had an abnormal number of pitcher injuries recently, but there has also been, it's a common trend throughout the sport and the industry. I do think that it is tied to velocity. I do think that it is tied to my belief that these young kids at a too early of an age being taught sliders, splitters, curveball, whatever, like all these crazy pitches. Unfortunately, there isn't one thing to kind of change that will be a solution. The Dodgers have looked into this. I think that there certainly is reason to question, maybe some of their developmental strategies and things like that, but they're not the only team dealing with all of these. So it's hard to fully pinpoint, it's hard to in my opinion, to fully blame them as an organization.
Yeah. A couple of things here. I know teaching kids breaking pitches at an early age, like in their adolescence, has always sort of been not always, because this has changed a lot recently, but it had been taboo for a long time. Now, it's a little more okay, there's not a lot of evidence saying that this does cause injuries. And that was part of Jeff Passan's book, The Arm. And I think, that book basically said look, there's no definitive conclusion. The one sort of tentpole thing that, because this is a thing across baseball, baseball is studying this, it's not just a Dodger centric thing. The rise in chasing velocity at any age is a significant contributor to this. I think everyone can agree with that across the game. And so I think that's a major factor. And the Dodgers, as much as any organization, emphasize going after that trait, velocity. The second part of this is they've made some calculated gambles recently with their pitchers, guys that they've drafted like Walker Buehler, and guys that they've signed like Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow, guys with injury histories and guys who they knew when they acquired them were going to need surgeries, things like that. So There is, I think it's sort of twofold in that way. And look, the Dodgers recognize it too, because they did their own sort of kind of white paper study on this for their internal purposes. But yeah, I think when you have prospects who have been mostly healthy, but they keep getting hurt on your watch, there is something there that you need to examine. And I do think that the biggest culprit is that a lot of those guys are guys that they're getting to chase velocity. And it's not the only reason, but I think it's the most common of the denominators that are out there.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. Like I
don't know.
It's here. I don't know if I was on a show with you or maybe it was just Jeff and myself, but there is not a pitching coach. There is not an organization. There's not a team. There's nobody in baseball that is going to tell a relief pitcher or a starter, hey, stop throwing so hard. Go back to throwing 92 instead of chasing 99 or 100 plus. It's just not going to happen. And so, unfortunately, like with kind of, I guess, being forced to accept that, the injuries are here to stay unless there becomes some sort of medical advancement at some point. Yeah. I don't know if it would happen in your or my lifetime that can kind of preserve pitchers and turn them into the robots that I know Blake likes so much. He's a big robot guy.
I think we were more likely to see like real out of the box thinking in how starting pitchers get through starts than we are telling pitchers to like stop chasing velocity. And what I mean by that is like, okay, like we're going to train everyone to be a starter, even if like they're not good enough long-term. Right. And then, okay, so then let's say it goes, instead of like relying on a bullpen for 5 innings, you're going to go, okay, this starting pitcher, go throw as hard as you can for 3 innings. And then we're going to bring in this other starting pitcher behind you, and he's going to give us 3 as well.
That's a good point.
And so I think you start to see innovations like that before anyone goes, oh, we're going to stop teaching velocity.
Yeah, definitely. Bacon Tree wants to know if do we think this is the last year the roster will have all these veterans? Next year, will they go with their prospects or even some players from NPB that may come over? I think a lot of this will be dictated by how the season ends. If the Dodgers win the World Series again and Kike Hernandez plays a key role, if Max Muncy gets his year on track, I could see them being back for another year to keep kind of defending the title, if you will.
Yeah.
If the Dodgers fall short, then I think we'll see you're going to be more likely to see kind of some turnover there. And I don't necessarily think it would be only prospects or only players from NPB per se. I think it could just be, I know the name is taboo right now, but somebody like Michael Conforto, an established major leaguer who has been with other teams that maybe they try and bring in as kind of fresh blood. Blake Snell, another example.
Yeah.
And again, I know those aren't two great names right now, given the current statuses, but that's where I could see.
Most of that turnover would be on the bench too, right? Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, possibly Austin Barnes, those kinds of guys.
Yeah. All right. We have reached our off-topic question. So if you are here for strictly baseball, I'm giving you a warning now. It's only a few questions, so we'll go through these as quickly as we can. Thank you, everybody who's been in here with us. We got up to, I think, around 2,000 people tonight. A lively discussion, certainly expressing some frustrations and sharings of opinion. It's been fun. Signs Stealing Scandal says, question, I'm a hypocrite because I absolutely hate food questions, but he wants to know the best food around Chase Field. I don't have a lot of great answers for this. I do have one because I did text it to Jeff. It was when the Dodgers were losing, was it 5-0 still? And I said, hey, like just leave the game early and go to this restaurant. And it was, I was giving him a hard time, but it was the Arrogant Butcher. So it's closer to actually the basketball arena. So it's a few blocks away from the baseball stadium. Blake and I went to it in, what year did they play? In 2003 when they played the Diamondbacks in the NLDS. I thought that was really good. Anthony, I don't know if you had anything jumps out to you from your time being in that area.
Around the ballpark, not as much. If you're looking for some good Mexican food, there's a place called Frank and Lupe's in Scottsdale. That's really good. There's a restaurant called Orange Sky in the area that's pretty good too. I tended not to stay in downtown Phoenix very often, but yeah, that Phoenix area is actually a pretty good food spot. A lot of good breakfast and brunch places too, because of just sort of the crowd that area attracts, like a lot of snowbirds and things like that. So yeah, there's plenty of good options out there, kind of no matter what sort of food you're looking for.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. NS wants to know, what's your favorite chip? Mine is jalapeno kettle chips or Takis.
I'm with NS on this one. Jalapeno kettle chips they stay in my pantry for sure.
Those are
My
good.
wife buys them like 3 bags at a time, and so that we're never out.
Those are good. I think I really like I have since I was a kid, cheddar ruffles. I also like the garden salsa sun chips.
Okay.
The flavor is a little bit harder to find than some like their cheddar ones and their plain ones and stuff like that. Those are good. And every now and then I'll mix in maybe a spicy nacho, especially if I'm eating a sandwich. Those tend to go good with a sandwich. Admin likes honey barbecue Frito twist. I prefer flaming hot Fritos.
Okay, yeah. The honey barbecue are good. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say hot Cheetos as well.
Okay. I prefer do you like hot fries?
I do like hot fries, yeah.
Okay.
The
So
original hot Cheeto.
Yeah, I like my ranking of those style. I go flaming hot Fritos are my favorite, and then hot fries are second, and then flaming hot Cheetos are last for me.
Okay.
All right. I think 2 more, and then we'll get out of here. Donnie Boy wants to know, who makes better golfers, baseball players or hockey players? So this is, I think,
This is good, yeah.
Circling back. I have no, Anthony, you're the pro, you're the expert in this one,
Yeah.
so this is all you.
Pitchers for baseball players, pitchers tend to be better golfers than other guys on the roster. And it's not just because I think like they get to play more because of the way their schedule works out, but the pitching motion is much more relatable to the golf swing than swinging a baseball bat is, oddly enough. Just the way the body moves is, if the pitching motion compared to the golf swing is much more similar. And in terms of like baseball to hockey players, the hockey swing is as close as you can get to any athletic motion to a golf swing. So hockey players tend to be just in general better, or I should say pick up the game a lot faster than baseball players do.
NS is saying Charles Barkley has the best golf swing. So he does get made fun of, but they're actually, what I was watching, I know, Anthony, you're going to have to cover yours because I was watching Inside the NBA. Maybe it was a couple nights ago, last week. I don't know. They're doing so many shows that I've lost track of when it was, but they showed a new clip of him. I think he might have been at like what's the driving range, the popular one that Top Golf. If it wasn't Top Golf, it was something similar to that. And his golf swing actually looked much better. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not like, I don't golf, so I'm not saying he's a professional or anything. But it looked pretty good. And here Blake is chiming in about Blake. Anthony, he wants you to take him with him.
His next post was wrong account.
Yeah.
I like it.
Blake being an elite golfer, that is only confirmed by Blake. It is, nobody else has been able to verify that. So I'll just leave it at that. I know Daniel is a golfer on our staff. I'm not sure if Jeff is. I forget if he's played.
We need a Dodger Blue DodgerHeads golf outing.
I will attend. I will probably just watch. I'm not golf is not in my bag.
Could you make sure that the plastic shot cups are full?
Yes, I can definitely. I'd be happy to help you guys with that. All right, here. Well, let's rifle through some of these. We have chili Cheeto Fritos were mentioned. Cole says, "Good, can't beat good old Cool Ranch Doritos. Those are very good. They used to be one of my favorites. They used to be probably my favorite. Now they're just
classic. Yeah.
Now they're just one of them." Amanda says, "Honey mustard kettle chips. I have not had those. I don't even know if I've heard of them.
I have not had those. I haven't heard of those either. But kettle chips are solid. Just in general.
Yeah." John wants to know, when is Blake hosting the show again? Blake, your first, I think he hosted with you, right? That was you guys?
Yeah. It was me and Blake. Yeah. He did a great job.
I watched it after the fact. Blake did do a good job. I know that going from the analyst chair to the hosting chair can be challenging, but Blake handled himself well. I don't know when he's going to host, but Blake will be back on Tuesday night. Right now is our current schedule. Let's see. Johns wants to know a good IPA. Anthony, can you recommend one? Because this not a beer drinker, so this is out of my league.
Yeah, I don't drink beer. Just not a big beer fan. I can recommend hard liquor all day for you though, John.
All right, there we go. John, ask us. We're winding this one down, so come back. Well, Anthony will be back in a little bit, so come back when Anthony's on and ask him for some drink advice. All right, let's end with this one. Our admin wants to know if I saw the new Wendy's kids meal has Marvel toys in it, and those Marvel toys apparently are Batman and Green Lantern. I did not see that, and so I'm assuming that this is actually DC and that our admin is just giving me a hard time. No, I haven't seen. Maybe I'll go check it out. But I leave. There's another member of our staff that is loaded up on a lot of different toys from I think Star Trek. I won't name names though. We'll just leave it at that.
You're going to cause an intergalactic war.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that, and I'm shutting off the stream, and I don't have to see any of the comments after that. In all seriousness, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I know it was, I don't know, heated. I don't know what the right word is at the beginning.
No, these are good conversations. I think that we have a passionate fan base that tunes in for us, and we appreciate that. And I will say this, I totally understand the frustration.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think, again, like not to rehash what Anthony and I said, if you missed it, just go back to the very beginning. We jumped into Michael Conforto very quickly and earlier than we kind of anticipated. We get fans being upset and frustrated and wanting him to get hits. We, I think, are just trying to explain why a DFA is not coming around the corner tomorrow, next week, probably not even next month.
Yeah.
But again, rewind the show, go back to the very beginning. You'll get all of that. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Like I said, we got up to about 2,000 people in the live show, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. As a reminder, if you are on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, ring the notification bell. If you're not, come check us out at some point when you have time. Dodger Blue 1958. We've reached 85,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 100,000. We'll planning some sort of contest or two once we can get there to kind of reward and thank everybody. And we want to give you guys a cool opportunity to win something kind of fun. Podcast, Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. Once again, that's Anthony. I'm Matthew. Jeff and I will be back on with you guys Sunday night. So at that point, the Diamondback series would have ended. Anthony is predicting three wins for the Dodgers in a row. So it should
3 out of 4.
Should be a good one. But no matter what happens, we'll be here. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.